I want to talk today about the things we think we've lost because I think sometimes we decide something is gone before we've even asked whether it can come back in a different way. And this really is for the woman who's spent years showing up for everyone else, doing what needed to be done, being responsible, being dependable, keeping things moving. Somewhere along the way, she started to wonder, where did I go? What am I doing with my time? Where did my quiet go? What did the little things that made me feel like myself, where have they gone? Because I think a lot of us do this. Something changes in our life, maybe a routine gets disrupted, life starts asking us different questions or more from us. And before we've even given ourselves a minute to breathe or figure it out, our brain jumps straight to what we're losing. And I know this because I did it too. So, when my employer announced that we were going back to the office after being able to work remotely, my first thought wasn't really about the commute, although I wasn't a big fan. It wasn't even about getting dressed and getting ready earlier. My first thought was, well, there goes my mornings. And that really felt like a big deal to me because those mornings that I call my slow mornings, they had become such an important part of my day. I'd wake up, I'd meditate, write a little bit in my journal, make my tea and enjoy it, and really give myself space before I let the rest of the world in. And it wasn't fancy, it wasn't complicated, but it helped me to hear myself. And it helped me to really feel grounded before the day started. And honestly, it felt like one of the few parts of my day that really belonged just to me. So when I heard that we were going back to the office, I immediately started grieving that time. And in my mind, there really wasn't room for both. I couldn't go back to the office and still have my slow mornings. That was the story that I told myself. And for a while, I couldn't see anything else because I was so focused on what I didn't like about that situation. And then one morning, it finally hit me. What if I just woke up a little bit earlier? And that was it. That was like the whole solution. It wasn't anything dramatic, no big overhaul. It wasn't like create this perfect routine, no complicated plan. It was really just one small choice. And I laugh about it now because it really was so simple and really so obvious. But I genuinely couldn't see it at first. And what I realized throughout this kind of reflection time that I had with it is that my slow mornings hadn't actually been taken from me. They just needed to look a little bit different at this point in my life. And I had to decide whether or not they mattered enough to me to protect. And that moment has really stayed with me because I think we do this in so many parts of our lives. We decide that something's gone because it doesn't look the way that it used to. And maybe it's time for ourselves. Maybe it's creativity that we used to feel like we had. Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's making time for movement, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's just some quiet time. Or maybe it's a dream that you've kind of put away in a box. Maybe it's part of who we are that we really haven't made room for in a long time. And of course, I want to be careful here because some losses are real. Sometimes things truly are gone, and we don't need to pretend that a mindset shift or something like that is going to fix everything. But sometimes what we think we've lost is still available to us. It might just need a different rhythm. It might need a new boundary. It might need a smaller starting point, a little more honesty about what actually matters to us. And that was the shift for me. Instead of saying, well, this has been taken from me, I started to see it differently. Not right away, but after a few days of reflection. I started asking, if this really matters to me, how can I protect it? How can I protect it in this time that I'm actually in right now? And that question really felt so much better to me because I wasn't powerless anymore. I wasn't letting something happen to me or reacting to something that life had handed to me. I was actively participating in my own life again. I wasn't on autopilot, just kind of getting into that negativity groove. Um, I was going to choose what mattered to me. And honestly, I think that's how we come back to ourselves. So, not always is it this one huge decision. Sometimes it's through these really small choices that remind us that we still have a say in our life. We can take the walk. We can make that phone call. We can create a little bit of space before the day begins. Saying no when something doesn't feel right, or even saying yes to something that does. Really listening to ourselves before automatically defaulting to what everyone else needs or expects from us. And those choices may not look significant from the outside, but they really do matter. They become proof that we are still here, that our needs still matter, that our voices still matter, that we can make small adjustments that help life feel more like ours again. So maybe the question isn't always, how do I get my old life back? Maybe the questions should look more like, what still matters to me? And what would it look like to make room for it right now? And that's really what I want to leave you with today. Ask yourself this question: what's something that you've assumed you no longer have room for? And is it truly gone? Or maybe it just needs to look a little bit different in this time of your life. So, like me, maybe it's a morning routine. Maybe it's the ability to have a little bit of quiet time. You want to be more creative. Maybe it's working out or doing some form of movement. Maybe it's that dream that you've put in a box. Maybe it's that part of yourself that you thought you put away. You don't have to solve the whole thing today. But I do think that if we get curious, you're going to be surprised, because sometimes it's waiting for one small choice that lets it come back into our life. And if that's where you're at right now, I hope that this reminds you that coming back to yourself doesn't always have to be dramatic, like I said. Sometimes it starts with really just that one honest question: what do I miss that I'm ready to make room for again? I'd love to hear anything that comes up for you. Until next time.